welcome to McRock's Friday Vah Blog.
No, it's not the blog, it's vlog.
The really hard are the homegrown videos and then the blogs, and now we're trying this thing called a Vah Blog.
It's not called a Vah Blog, it's called a vlog. But you don't say
Vah Blog. Anyway, our vlog is going to be launched right now, late in the afternoon, every Friday. So we're kind of chill.
Relaxed.
We're starting to be relaxed.
I know, I'm always relaxed, just always so low key and
twitchy.
chill.
Yeah, no, sometimes not. Yeah, the cuddly pit bull right here. But anyway, what do you? And the big thing that's going on right now is our industry doesn't have enough diversity. Just this week, I think I've spoken to, what was my number, 85 different women who are still doing their studies at universities, to young professionals who are actually in our industry. Let's talk about venture capital and private equity. And for the students, it's kind of like to try and say to them, what we do is so cool. And you might not even know what we do is so cool, so let us talk about that, and then we'll talk about the nuances. I'm getting a couple of reoccurring questions, and I'm going to throw one of the questions over to Scott.
Let's ask a white man what he thinks about a diversity question.
No, it's not about a diversity question. It's actually about a career question.
Oh, that's good.
All right.
So, do you have a list of questions?
No, I'm just gonna wing it, because you know me. I never prepare.
She has a list right down there on the floor. Don't like believe it for 1 second.
150 questions.
Whitney doesn't wing anything.
But I do have one question that I actually don't need to look
off the top of my head.
Well, no. Seriously, I'll hit you in the solar plexus and it'll hurt.
Venture capital is a very tough industry. You need to be able to be...
All right, stop. Okay. If you could do your career over again, what would you do differently?
Learn math?
Oh, dear God. Here we go.
That's such a hard question. So they asked you this.
Here we go. This is the typical reaction you get from a white man, which is basically, I don't want to answer that question because I feel uncomfortable answering that question. I don't even want to open the recesses of my mind to answer that question.
Time out.
No.
I will press the boundaries of my capabilities right now.
If you could do it over again, what would you do differently?
I would have sat at the front of the room and asked more questions.
It's a good one.
Because I'll tell you why. There's an element of my career that was, for lack of a better term, fake it till you make it. Right? You have to have confidence that you're capable of it, but somewhere inside there's a voice that says, ooh, I don't really know what I'm doing, but I want to sit at the adult table. And so you have to...
You're going to say big boy table.
I am learning how to choose my words wisely. And I thought if I asked questions, I would be viewed as not confident. That's my answer. I would ask more questions.
Brilliant.
What did you say?
I actually, when I was younger in my career, I asked a lot of questions.
We do sidebar conversation?
So mine, no.
Sidebar conversation? No, well, because the first time I met you, the very first time I met you ever was in a conference. And
2001. It was 2001.
And you were sitting at the very front of the room.
I was.
With your hand up constantly.
Mr. Carter.
There were 200 people in the room and you asked I'm not joking now, probably 4 questions in a row.
I was curious. I was a bit of a relentless hunter of information. It was one of these characteristics in my personality, and it was a skill set that I developed early on.
But you weren't afraid to be
I was terrified.
Judged, because soon as you open your mouth, you're judged.
I'm never afraid necessarily to be judged. I was always kind of more inquisitive. It's so much easier to ask a question than it is to answer a question.
No, because when you answer a question...
Did you see, I didn't even look at my notes to ask you a question, because asking a question to me is so comfortable. Answering a question is one of the big things I wish I did earlier on in my career was to establish and work on my network. When you're looking for those breaks in your career, when you're looking for talent because you want to bring them into your own firm, when you're looking for intelligence, when you're looking for somebody to have your back, you need a professional network in order to do that, where there's mutual respect and there's years of growing that network.
Do you think that's a gender issue? Do you think, like, because when I think about the cohort of people I kind of advanced with, networking was maybe the easiest thing to do.
Yeah, because you're extroverted.
Okay, well then they were all extroverts too, because the easiest thing to do was to network after all the hard questions were asked in the room that day, and then you network and
So I'm
develop
curious,
relationships.
so where did you network?
After business hours.
Right.
Which would mean like when the cocktail started at the end.
So
the cocktail.
Right, which is the stuffed and buzzed.
Stuffed and buzzed.
The stuffed and buzzed.
What it means is that you're constantly going to lunches and dinners, and oddly enough, there's always cocktails. That's where you would develop the network, because you would meet people and you would talk to them, and there were a lot of blue suits, and you would be in a blue suit. Mm-hmm. And you would just start talking about things that were
like you
of
fit in.
common. Yeah.
Yeah. You fit in.
You fit in, and then you talked about things you fit in, and if you didn't like that conversation and that cluster of blue suits, you went to the next, and you'd find some conversation that you could relate to.
Some people, of course, are talking shop, and they actually have legitimate work to do, and so those are hard circles to kind of get into.
Or they're talking about the questions that were asked by the brave young woman at the front, which they were afraid to, and now they're in a safe environment for them. For me, okay, why am I hiding it? Where I could probe on the question that was asked in the broad room in front of everybody, and I could use the network to kind of fake it till I made it.
But did you ever talk about the personal side of life? Did you ever scan the room or talk about what you did the night before or the weekend prior?
A little, but not a lot.
You didn't. And you didn't go out with a whole bunch of guys afterwards, party on down in ways that, you know, had to be in the cone of silence.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Exactly. So we're going to stop the conversation here, because this is our first Friday Vah Blog.
We can't divulge every secret of society in the first Vah Blog. Shh.
Now as I talk to a lot of professional women who are younger than me, who are trying to network, I'm realizing that it really isn't easy. Maybe I was kind of lucky in that it didn't even dawn on me to do it until I was in my mid to late 30s. And I took kind of my natural state, which is if you work really hard, you'll get noticed and it'll be okay. And I think that's kind of what happened. Is I did get noticed, I did get lots of opportunities, but that network didn't really establish until kind of really the last decade or so of my career. There's a lot of intelligence that I've been getting over kind of what happens when younger professionals who are women are networking.
So there you go.
There you go.
There's the 2 tips for today.
Yeah.
Network. It's important and it works. I know it because I did it.
Ask more questions.
She did it and I watched it.
Mm-hmm. She did it, I watched it.
Our first Vah Blog.